Hello everyone, this is KM Hemmings. A pleasure as always. Forgive my absence. I've had bigger issues than YouTube. This is Alireza Akbari. He was hung by the neck until death by an Iranian court. What comes to mind when you think of Iranian court?
Religious zealot, maniac, no justice.
Indeed, narrator, but you sound like Fox News. Alireza was a lifelong supporter of the Islamic Republic of Iran. After the revolution, he joined the Islamic Students Association, a Shia group. When Saddam, with his friends in Washington, invaded Iran in the 80s, Alireza joined the Badr Brigades, a branch of the Republican Guard, the personal army of the Ayatollah, the most powerful man in Shiaism. And so young Alireza earned a name for himself as a fighter. Intelligent, useful. So useful he commanded an entire brigade, and along with his countrymen, they defeated Saddam Hussein. When it came time to end that horrific 8-year war, Alireza was a member of the military organization that implemented the ceasefire under UN Security Council 598. He had made it big time. For this reason, the defense minister of Iran appointed him deputy defense minister. He held this position for 5 years. He was an Iranian through and through. So when Iran began a nuclear program, peaceful nuclear program, he advised that the regime don't negotiate, saying, quote, "If we retreat every time they put pressure on us, they will continue the pressure and push us farther back until we are completely disarmed and defenseless."
He was correct, KM Hemmings.
Alireza held extremist political views in fiery writings and in speeches. He always argued in favor of acquiring a nuclear weapon, going so far as to become friends with the leading nuclear scientists in Iran and trying to convince them the same. He was highly ambitious and an excellent analyst with superior writing and speaking skills. He began working with foreign embassies in Tehran, global embassies, and made the case that Iran's nuclear program was peaceful. After officially retiring from government in 2004, he went into business and moved back and forth from the UK into Iran. The Iranians, a proud people, ancients, older than most civilizations, faced incredible sanctions because of their nuclear programs. Billions of their assets were seized by the United States and the United Nations. They were making a nuclear weapon, they claimed. They would destroy Israel, they said. These were both lies, but that didn't matter. Iran had to pay for the revolution. They had to pay for taking back their own oil and gas from the British BP and the American allies. Even worse, they had the nerve to defend themselves when Saddam Hussein tried to exterminate them. In a world where countries are outside of all laws, a country like Iran must obey the international rules the rulers don't respect at all, never mind follow. Since they couldn't stop the Iranian nuclear legal program, the Americans and Israelis, as well as the British and the French and the Germans, took another road, one that I'm sure you never heard of. Imagine a professor at an American university, a nuclear scientist no less, a man dedicated to education and hired by his own government to produce peaceful nuclear energy. Imagine him being murdered in cold blood by a foreign government. What would the news be if this happened to an American, to a French, or an Israeli scientist? January 15th, Ardeshir Hassanpour, professor and authority on electromagnetism in Iran, died by gas or radiation poisoning. On January 12th, 2010, another scientist, Masoud Ali Mohammadi, quantum physics theorist and an elementary particle physicist, was assassinated by a remote control bomb attached to a motorcycle in Tehran, Iran. On November the 29th, 2010, nuclear engineer and specialist in neutron transport Majid Shaharari was assassinated by a bomb attached to his car. On November the 29th, 2010, nuclear physicist and administrator Feridun Abbasi survived that bomb attack. In July 2011, a physicist and an expert in neutron transport was shot by a motorcycle gunman in Tehran. He was also assassinated. July 23rd, 2011, physicist and an expert in neutron transport was shot by a gunman in Tehran and assassinated January 11th, 2012. A professor researching polymeric membranes for gaseous diffusions, part of a process for enriching uranium for a nuclear program. He's from nuclear program. Mustafa Ahmadi Roshan was killed when a bomb attached to his car from a motorcycle in Tehran. He was assassinated. Later, January 27th, 2020, a mere 3 years ago, the father of the entire nuclear program of Iran, Mohsen Fakhrizadeh, nuclear physicist and head of the Iran's nuclear program, was shot by a remote-controlled machine gun in Damavand, Iran. He was assassinated by a remote-controlled machine gun. He was assassinated. Iran was one of the original 62 signatories to the Non-Proliferation Treaty, the most important global treaty on the world's deadliest weapon. This regulates their entire nuclear industry and allows them legally by the United Nations to have a nuclear industry with full inspections by the United Nations. Israel is not a signatory of this non-proliferation treaty and is known to have 200 nuclear weapons. Yet Israel said is under attack from Iran. What a joke. Back to Mr. Alireza, a hero in his country, pro-Iranian, pro-revolutionary. So why did they hang him by the neck until death? Well, turns out as early as 2004, right around the time he retired from his government position, he was hired by the British MI6, an intelligence agency, and began his long career as a duplicitous, treacherous, and treasonous traitor. It was he who named the scientists that were assassinated. It was he who explained their locations and assisted the same enemies that funded Saddam Hussein's murderous campaign against his country. In that war, Alireza seen firsthand 1 million Iranians, his fellow citizens, were murdered, and yet he was aiding the same criminal warmongers in killing his own countrymen again. Iran has every right to pursue nuclear energy. It is recognized by international law that they are allowed to. They are legally and morally allowed to produce peaceful nuclear energy. And yet, their scientists are murdered openly in the streets. Bombs on bikes, bombs on cars, remote control machine guns. In those streets of busy cities like Tehran and Damavand, by the civilized countries no less. And there are cowards like Alireza in every country who sell out their own people for a miserable price, and they all deserve to be hung by the neck until dead.